Today I'm going to be talking about the history of Corvettes. Did any of you know the first 300 Corvettes were made in Flint, Michigan in 1953 and they were all made by hand? Um, Corvettes are America's original performance cars and continue to compete with companies around the world today. So, the three main points I'm going to be talking about today are the original production of Corvettes, the C1 through the C7, and finally the C8 Corvette. So the original production of Corvettes was in Flint, Michigan, obviously with the first 300. And originally the Corvette was just a model car basically, and it was just an idea. And then they turned this idea into reality by putting the first 300 into production in Flint, Michigan. And as seen here, they were made with all of them were made with a red interior and a white exterior, and they were all made with an inline six V6 engine. So the the production of Corvettes started in 1953 in Flint. Then in 1954 to 1981, it was switched to St. Louis, Missouri, and then now it's in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and that started in 1981 to currently. And then the Corvette is the longest production passenger car, as it's been produced for 67 years now. All right, so now I'm going to be talking about the C1 through the C7. So first we have the C1, which, like I said, started out in 1953. It has an inline six. One of the notable things about the C1 is the teeth style grill. This is the only one that has it. And the C1 came with a 3-speed manual at first. And then in 1957, they introduced a 4-speed manual and fuel injection, which made the car run better and perform better. And then in 1954, they had the option available for a V6 or a V8, and a lot of people chose the V8, so they discontinued the V6 in 1955. Next, I'm going to be talking about the C2 Corvette. This is one they called the Stingray. Um, it was originally a race car from 1959 that Bill Mitchell drove, and this is the only Corvette with a split rear window design, and they stopped doing this idea because the split window obstructed the driver's view. So this is the only Corvette that has it, and it kind of gives it a unique look. And the C2 Corvette, they offered a L88 7-liter engine in 1967, and this put out anywhere from 540 to 580 horsepower compared to the base model engine, which put out 250. So you're getting more than double the power with this upgraded engine. And then next is the C3. This is when they introduced the T-top design, which made it kind of half convertible, half hardtop, which was convenient because you could drive it in cooler weather then, and it wasn't as much of just a sole summer car or a sole performance car. You could kind of have a cruiser and a summer car with that T-top design. And then with the C3, this was the only Corvette that was produced in two different factories, because that is when they made the switch in 1981 to the different location. And then this is the year they also offered the ZR1 package for the first time, which had improved brakes, tires, shocks, and some other things. It had a better engine too, and it made the car faster and perform a lot better, which was a nice option for people to have available for themselves. The next one is the C4, and This car is kind of unique because they made the aerodynamics of the car a lot better. In fact, 24% more aerodynamic than the C3. And then they also offered the C4 in a twin turbo configuration, and this was called the Callaway package. The base model engine was a 5.7 that put out 205 horsepower. And then in 1991, they improved this to 300 horsepower with the V8 small block. And then this is the first series of Corvette that offers the ZR1 as an actual car compared to the package that was offered with the C3. And this car was made with the help of Lotus, who was a engineer who made a lot of race cars back in the day, and just engineered a lot of amazing products. And he helped build the ZR1, and they put different things on it like Bilstein suspension and Goodyear tires that made it perform better than a lot of other Corvettes previously. This one is the C5. The base model had a 345 horsepower engine, which was then improved to in 2001 to 350 horsepower. This is the first year they offered the V6 with a 5.7 liter that had 385 horsepower and had a 6-speed manual transmission. And then in 2002, the Z06 was improved to 405 horsepower compared to 385. And the C5 is kind of unique because it was a pace car for the Indy 500. The C6 had a base model engine that put out 400 horsepower. They also had the Z06 configuration with a 7-liter engine and 505 horsepower. And then the ZR1 was reintroduced, and it put out 638 horsepower, was supercharged, and had a top speed of 205 miles an hour. And then finally we have the C7, and they reintroduced the Stingray from the C2 Corvette. And they put the LT1 engine in this, and this put out 460 horsepower. And then they improved the ZR1 once again with the 6.2 liter supercharged V8 that produced 755 horsepower. And in the C7, the ZR1's offered in both manual and automatic compared to just manual and all the other series of Corvettes. And in 2019, the ZR1 was the most powerful Corvette to date, putting out 755 horsepower. And finally, I'm going to be talking about the C8 Corvette, which is unlike any other Corvette because this one has a mid-engine, which means the engine is in the mid of the car, or the central part of the car. And this makes the car a lot better just because the weight's more centralized, so the handling is a lot better, the traction. Basically every aspect of the car is better just because of that mid-engine. So the mid-engine allows for a lower polar moment of inertia, which means there's less pull when they go to turn and things like that, because the weight is central compared to having most of the weight at the front of the car. It's in the center of the car, and your central motion of gravity is just, it makes it a lot better for handling and track purposes. And the C8s are made with a dual clutch transmission, which makes shifting faster because there's not a required slowdown in between each gear shift. So this makes the car a lot faster. The shifting is a lot quicker and allows you to take time off at the track. And then the C8 also has a lot of technological features. As you can see, the comfort controls are now in this big bar in the center of the car, which is different than any of the other Corvettes, where it's usually right where this display is. And this is kind of a neat feature just because um, it's sleek and it's never been seen in the other Corvettes, and it's not really seen in a lot of other vehicles except for a few Mercedes and some different vehicles that are seen across seas. Um, so the Corvette is going to continue to change, just as you've seen in these pictures how it's changed over 67 years to be a low performing car to one of the higher performing cars in the market today. And the Corvette's going to continue to be a car of dreamers, and it's going to continue to evolve to keep impressing people throughout years as it continues to be made.